Thank you very much for coming today. And we're going to talk about student visas, the Tier 4 General Student Visa category this morning. My name is Leo. I work for the Singlong, the parent company visa team. So it'll be my pleasure to help UKEC and ApplicationUK customers with their visa applications. I have involved in UK student visa system and helping with students applying for a Tier 4 student visa for more than 10 years. And I have dealt with hundreds of student visa applications. So hopefully I can bring my experience to you and help with your visa application too. So today we're going to take a very practical approach to visa application. We'll be looking at how to apply for a Tier 4 General Student Visa from outside of UK, as well as extending a Tier 4 General Student Visa within the UK. Okay, so before we start, let me just explain a few jargons we may come across today. So the visa category we're looking at today is the Tier 4 General Student Visa. And it is a visa category for students or for people who are over 16. And another term is called Tier 4 sponsor. And this is referring to the university, the educational institution that you are going to attend in the UK. Okay, so you may hear I'm saying quite a lot. Home Office, UKVI. UKVI stands for UK Visa and Immigration. So I may use these terms interchangeably. Basically, essentially, they are referring to the same UK governmental organization. Home Office and the UKVI is the people who looking at your application, assessing your application, making a decision, and then finally issuing the visa for you. So it's the people who checking and assessing visa applications. And another term is called the Visa Application Center. This is for students or for people who are applying from outside of the UK. So previously, when we apply for a UK visa, we probably go to the UK British Embassy in your country or British High Commission in your country. Recently, the UKVI or UK government has outsourced the visa application administrative process to a private company called VFS Global. So VFS Global has centers across the global in many different countries. So if there is a visa application center in your country, that's where you need to go to hand in your documents, your application forms. Okay, so these are the jargons we may come across later on. So let's get started. Whenever we thinking about applying for a student visa in the UK, the first thing come to our mind always is what needs to be included, what kind of documents we need to prepare. So preparation is very important. We always start with the most essential, the must-have elements in our visa application. First of all, is the confirmation of acceptance for studies, and we call them CAS. CAS is essentially the unconditional offer issued by the university to confirm that they will accept you onto the course and with all the details. So we will talk about CAS later on. And another essential element of your visa application is the documents listed on CAS, which refers to the evidence that you submitted to the university in order for them to give you the place. So the CAS will state very clearly how they assessed these documents, and if it is listed on CAS in our visa application, we must include original documents. The third element is money. UKVI or Home Office wants to know that you have enough money to come to study, you have enough for the tuition fees, and also enough for living cost. So they will check our bank statements or letters issued by our bank to ensure that we have cash in the bank ready for this purpose. And other documents are also very important, is to prove our identity. This is common sense, our passports, photograph. And if you studied in the UK before, you may already have a previous UK visa, either in your passport called visa pages, or nowadays the visa is on a plastic card called BRP card. So if you had any one of these in your application, you must include the original passports and the cards. And the passports is also very important. We need to include both the current one and any previous ones we may still have, simply because UKVI wants to know our immigration history. Okay, the third tier is it's not really optional. It depends who you are, where you're applying from. For example, TB, tuberculosis test. TB test in the Home Office has a list of countries. If you are applying from these countries, you must have your TB checked by approved clinics or hospitals. But we will come to that later on during our presentation. And the ATAS, this depends on what subject you study. So we'll talk about ATAS later on during the presentation. So let's just come to the last bit. The last chunk is after we have all the documents prepared. Now we come to the stage to fill out our online application form and complete the online application form, pay the relevant fees to UKVI. Then we can print out the documents after we submitted our online application form. So together with online application documents, plus the documents we talked through, and then we will put together our application package. So if we're applying from outside of the UK, we'll go to the Visa Application Center with all these documents. Okay, let's examine this element one by one. Okay, first of all, CAS, Confirmation of Acceptance for Studies. When the university confirm our place, they will issue starting from like a conditional offer. Then after conditional offer, we meet our conditions. They change that into unconditional offer, and then finally CAS. So when we get CAS, that means that we're ready to submit our visa application. So when we receive the CAS, the most important thing for us is to look through all the essential parts and the information, make sure they are correct. So these are the elements we need to check on CAS: the sponsor license number, CAS number, course, evidence for admissions, and how much the first year tuition fee. Let's have a look at CAS sample so we have a fairly good idea where the things are on the CAS. Okay, so this is a CAS issued by a UK university. So first of all, CAS details, sponsor license number is listed here. It's a combination of letter and numbers. So it is very important because on the online application form, we need to fill in this sponsor license number. So you can always find it on the CAS. And the CAS number, very important. This is a computer generated, a combination of letters and numbers. CAS number is very important simply because when UKVI receive your application, they will put in this CAS number into their computer system, and all these relevant details will be put up on their screen. So essentially, when you submit your application, and you will fill in a CAS number in the application form, and the UKVI will be using this reference number. UKVI will be pull out all this information. And then the next section is student details, is our own details. Make sure the family names, the given names, all the date of birth spelled and recorded correctly on CAS. If you have any problems and mistakes, you need to contact university to get them corrected before you submit your visa application. Okay, passport number, for example. Yeah, very important to make sure they are all correct. So the next section is course details. And it tells you the course title, which you also need to copy them on your online application form. Course level is very important. Level 7 means it's a master's program. So if you study a course at the different levels, they have different codes corresponding to each level. And you can always find this information on your class. Course start date and end date, equally important. They would decide how long you will get the visa for. Okay, scroll down. So now we come into the university information. So university name and the university address. And now this, we're probably going to talk a bit more about evidence provided. This is very important. As we speak before, any academic evidence or language evidence listed on CAS that we, as the applicant, must provide the original documents for our visa application. So, for example, in this instance, let's have a look. Oh, for English language qualification, the university says, is CELT required? CELT is a term, it's called a Secured English Language Testing System, which is a term that UKVI gave to the type of English language exams they recognize. Currently, they recognize IELTS, IELTS, that we probably all know about it, and they also recognize another exam from London, but we won't talk about it because it is less popular than IELTS. So in this instance, university says secured English language test is not required. Why? Simply because there is a rule about this. If the student is studying a degree course, or degree level of the course, with a UK university, and the university has the power to decide how to assess the student's English language ability. So it doesn't have to be assessed by IELTS. It can be assessed by many other means, as long as the university is satisfied that you reached the required English level. So in this case, the university says we don't need to test the students by IELTS. We are happy because higher education institution as the university has made their own assessment. Okay, so no evidence for English language level in this case needs to be provided for visa. However, let's look down below here. Previous course level, NQF level 6, so the students did study in the UK before, previously studied in the UK, and they did a level 6, which is an undergraduate level course. And then the evidence listed on the CAS is the bachelor degree, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics with Finance from the University of Leeds. So when we see this information, we know that we need to provide some original documents to prove that we have bachelors in this subject from University of Leeds. So the evidence that we can provide, the best thing to provide, of course, is the degree certificate. Okay, other things may be simply because that your course is completed, but the official degree certificate has yet to be issued. So you haven't got the official degree certificate. In this case, you can provide your award letter from the university to confirm, you completed the course, you meet all the requirements. They're going to issue you a certificate at such date. So this letter will be equivalent to your university degree. So any of this kind of evidence we need to submit in the original format. Okay, so the last bit we need to look for on CAS is the tuition fee. And the university will always state the first year tuition fee on CAS, simply because Home Office request or require us to have the first tuition year fee plus the maintenance funds. So we need to check, make sure we understand how much the first year tuition fee is, so we can prepare our money well. So we have seen CAS, and then let's move on to have a look at what other documents we need to prepare before our visa application. And we talk about all the documents that are listed on CAS needs to be original document. And it can be your degree certificate, it can be transcripts, can be a award letter. If the university listed your IELTS, it can be the IELTS test report. And for IELTS test report is something different, because on the IELTS test report there is a unique reference number. You can on your application form, it requires you to put this unique reference number on. So even if you don't have an original IELTS certificate, you will still be okay as long as you fill in the correct reference number for the IELTS test report. And the ATAS is a very special certificate. We'll talk about it later on. Okay, so we've examined the CAS itself. We also talked about the documents listed on CAS. Now we come to the most important part of the Tier 4 student visa application, money. So we need to understand how much money Home Office requires us to have, and what kind of documents we need to provide to prove that we have this amount of money. So we understand now that we need to have the first year tuition fees, and for maintenance, if you study outside of London, anywhere, the big London area, outside of the big London area in the UK, and the Home Office says we need to have £1,015 and for the 9 months. So £1,015 times 9. Okay, so if we study in London, Essex, Hertfordshire, Surrey, in Great London area, and because it is more expensive to live there, Home Office says we need to have £1,265 for 9 months, per month for 9 months, so times 9. However, some students asks me, said, oh, my course is only 6 months, it's not even 9 months, how much money should I have? Oh, if your course is shorter than 9 months, you need to have the required amount per month times the full course length. So if your course is only 6 months, you study outside of London, you need to have £1,015 times 6 plus all the tuition fees. Okay, now we understand how much money we need to have. Let's say, what are the other requirements for the documents to prove our money? So Home Office has a very rigid, strict rules about the documents we submitted to prove that we have the right amount of money. First of all, we need to have our full names on the document, or there's a bank letter or bank statement. So students sometimes ask me, well, I don't have money myself. Can I use, my relatives' money? For example, can I use my parents' money? Use their bank statement as a proof. Yes, of course you can. Home Office says you can use your parent money in your parent bank account to prove your finance, which is fine. But you cannot use any other relatives. Simply, so this means that you cannot use your grandfather, your grandmother, your uncles, your aunties' bank account to prove to meet the financial requirement. So only your money and your parents' money. However, according to our practical experience, I would strongly suggest to use your own money, so money that is deposited in your own bank account, simply because we want to make the procedure as simple as possible, as easy as possible. If you use your parents' money, which is fine, but you will need to provide extra document to prove, for example, the relationship. And also your parents need to write a letter to say they are happy for you to use the money. So this is an extra job for us to do. So we don't want to overcomplicate the process. So try to make it as simple as possible is to put the money into your own, the applicant's bank account. Okay, so another element on the bank documents is the account number. Home Office says the documents need to show the bank account number and also needs to show the bank's name and the logo. Apart from that, Home Office wants to check on this document the amount of money available to us, to the applicant. And most importantly, this money needs to be shown for the last 28 days. And we need to have the right amount to cover a 28 days period. And during this 28 days period, on each day of this 28 days, we need to have the required amount. So money cannot go below the required amount during these 28 days. So this is very important. And I also talk, Home Office says the documents need to be fairly recent. It has to be issued within the 31 days of our application date. We cannot take a bank statement that issued half a year ago to show our finance. So so basically that means that we need to have the money into our bank account as early as possible, cover the 28 days, and when it's come to submit the application, we go to the bank, issue a fairly recent bank statement. Okay, so the key thing for having the correct financial document to prove our money is to put money into the bank account as early as fairly early or as early as possible. Make sure it covers 28 days. And make sure during the 28 days we maintain the required amount in the bank account. And it is best for our interest to put the money, to deposit the money into our own bank account. And also we go to the bank, get a recent bank statement before the application. Okay, so we talked about these things that we need to pay a lot of attention to. Let's have a look at a bank statement to say how Home Office would assess this piece of information. Okay, we understand that we need to have our names on the document. So here, for data protection purposes, we cover the names. I can assure you the owner, the account owner's name is here on the right-hand corner. And then we also need to have the bank's name and the bank's logo. Here is Barclays, and the logo is here. Okay, now we need to look at, so Home Office says we need to have the money for the 28 days period before the application. So how could we find out where the 28 days begins and where the 28 days end? So basically, when we look at a piece of bank statement, we go to the transactions. The first ever date on the transaction on this bank statement is June 23rd. So the money started from June 23rd. If we look on the right hand side of the balance column, on the 23rd of June, there is £30,000 in the bank account. So then it goes towards to July. It covers from 23rd of June to 23rd of July. So this is 31 days, so more than the required 28 days, so which is fine. Now we need to look at the balance column to make sure between these 28 days, the money has always been maintained there. So 30,000 on the 23rd of June and 30,000 July 22nd and 29,000 on the last day of the balance, which is 23rd of July. So the student has always maintained at least £29,000 in the bank account over the last 28 days. Okay, so if he only needs, for example, 25,000 to prove the tuition fee and the maintenance level, then this would be sufficient. So 29,000 is more than 25,000 required, and the money has been maintained for 28 days. So this is sufficient. Another date we need to pay a lot of attention to is, as we talked about, the bank statement has to be fairly recent. It has to be within the 31 days of our application date. So how do we check that then? We need to check the last balance date, which is the 23rd of July. So if the student wants to use this bank statement for his visa application, he needs to submit his application by 22nd of August within the 31 days. So any date, if he's going to submit his application, any date beyond 22nd of August, he cannot use this statement because it's invalid for visa purposes. Okay, now we have literally looking at a real bank statement and understand the UKVI's rule about a 28 days period and understand the UKVI's rule about the 31 days within the application date. So we have a clear idea about what a bank statement needs to be and what features need to be included. Okay, so this is probably the most important part of the application, to have the money ready in the bank account in time for our application and to get the bank to produce the right document for visa purposes. Okay, let's just go back to our list. So we've talked through the most important documents for our visa application here, the must-haves. Now we're going to go to look at the things we may need depending on our personal situations. First of all, TB test. Okay, so Home Office has listed all the countries that needs to be TB screened. Let's go to the website. So this is the Home Office website. It listed all the countries here. For example, let's take China as an example. If you go to China, you will find all the institutions are approved to provide TB screening in China. Okay, so it depends on the location. If you live in Beijing, you can go to these clinics or hospitals to get TB tested. And TB testing is a fairly straightforward. I think the best thing to do, approach this, is just to ring the institution, find the Home Office list of institutions and ring them up to say, I would like to do a BT test. So they may book your appointment, they may tell you which date is available for you to come along, and normally they would require you to bring your passport, photograph, and some money to pay the fees. It won't be very expensive. In China, it's about £50. I don't know about other countries, but of course, before you go, always ring the institution, find out what needs to be brought with you. Okay, once you passed your TB test, the institution will give you an official document with Home Office logo on it, as you can see on the right-hand side. So this is the piece of paper that we need to be included in our application. So it has to be the original document with the institution stamp, with the UKVI logo, with all the details, and they are happy you don't have TB. Okay, so TB test. Oh, sorry. Another thing about TB test is for students who already studied in some other countries. For example, a lot of students studied in the UK, and they gone back to their home country to apply for their second visa because they're going to continue their study in the UK for the next period. For example, a student has completed their undergraduate studies in the UK, now has gone back to their home country, China, and they apply for a second visa to come back to the UK to study masters. And in this case, UKVI says there is an exemption rule about TB test. If you have lived a non-TB country, UK, America, for example, for 6 months, and you have been away from that non-TB country for less than 6 months. If you meet these two conditions, you don't have to do your TB test. So in your visa application, you don't have to include this piece of a paper. Okay, so this is the TB test. Now, we mentioned about ATAS. It's also a document that some students may need to include in their visa application. This depends on what subject you're going to study in the UK. And the Home Office says if you study a subject which will give you the knowledge to make weapons of mass destruction, you need to have ATAS approved. And the sample subject or sample degree courses can be material science, physics, mechanical, aerospace, chemical engineering. So usually it's to do with the science and engineering subject. What the thing is, with ATAS, we need to understand the application procedures because it takes quite a long time to get it. It takes at least 4 weeks. Sometimes in the busy time, it takes more than 8 weeks. And if we need to apply, because it needs to be put in our visa application, so we need to think about ATAS early. How do we know if we need ATAS approved? Our conditional offer will tell us. As soon as we receive the conditional offer, we read them, carefully. And if you are applying to study a science or engineering subject, we need to pay a lot of attention to the conditional offer. The conditional offer will tell us if we need ATAS or not. And another way to find out is just to contact the university. Say, asking them, do I need ATAS for the visa? Okay, if we find out the answer is yes, we definitely need ATAS, so we need to apply as early as possible. And we can apply, there is only one way to apply, is to apply online through Home Office website. So this is the website that will give you all the information. And unfortunately, we don't have time to go through them all today, but it's fairly straightforward that we can just read through the website and follow the step-by-step instructions. We should be able to manage to complete the application online. So one thing to be noted is, for the ATAS application, we do need 2 referees. It can be your academic referee, which means your university lecturer, professors will be really good for your referee. Or if you have work experience, you previously employed, you can go to your employer for a reference, for a referee as well. So once we get our ATAS done, and the UKVI will send us a PDF document by email. So when you receive your PDF ATAS approval certificate, that needs to be printed out and included in the application package. Okay, so we've done the most important part of the visa application process, having all the documents ready, checking our CAS, and having our money ready and get the right document from our bank account to prove the money is meeting the UKVS requirement. And we've looked at the documents listed on CAS, and we also looked at whether we need TB test or whether we need to get ATAS certificate. So we've done all of this preparation. Now it's come down to the stage that we fill out our online application and submit online application forms and to print out necessary online application documents. So let's have a look at the online application form for applicants applying from outside of the UK. So this is the page for application to be made outside of the UK. So they have lots of links. So read through them carefully because they have different links to different visa applications. For example, here it says apply for a tourist or short stay visa, and give you a link here. Sometimes students come to ask me, oh, I've completed all my online application form, but I wasn't asked for the CAS number. Oh, I said, oh, in that case, you probably have filled out the wrong application form. So if you go to this link, it is for tourists and short stay visa, it won't ask for CAS number. So for Tier 4 general student visa, we need to go to the bottom of the page, create an account. So starting by create an account, and fill out all the information on this page, and then submit, register, and the Home Office will send us the email to confirm our registration and then give us the link to log into our online application form. So how much will Home Office charge us for our application, for our Tier 4 general student application? One of the fees the Home Office charges us is called IHS, Immigration Health Surcharge, and this fee is for international students to access the health system in the UK, including hospitals, general practitioner, but it doesn't cover medicine. So it covers that you go to see a doctor, but it doesn't cover the medicine, the pills that are prescribed to you. Okay, so the fee is £150 per year, and it needs to be paid online during the online application process. And Home Office will charge you to cover the full length of the visa. So if your visa is going to be 1.5 years, and then they will charge you £225 for 1.5 years. Okay, so this is the IHS fee, and another fee payable is the visa application fee. Currently, Home Office charges £335 for applications made outside of the UK. And of course, you can pay all these fees in your local currency. During the online application process, it will bring up the payment page, and you will be given a lot of payment options which is available in your own country, so which can be paid in your own currency, and the website will automatically work out how much it's going to be for your local currency. Once we paid our fees, all these fees, and we can submit our application online and get the relevant documents to print out for visa application. So one of the documents we need to print out is the online application form, and another document is, once we complete the online application form, submit it, it will bring us to a window where we can book an appointment to submit all the documents at a visa application center. So we will also receive a booking confirmation in our online account. So this is another document needs to be printed out, is the booking confirmation letter. So now we have our printed out online application form, appointment letter, plus all the documents we just been through, financial document, and original documents listed on CAS, and our photograph, our passports. So all these relevant necessary documents, we combine them all together, and this is our application documents that we needs to be taken to the visa application center, and we need to submit all the documents there. So when we actually get to the visa application center, apart from handing all the documents, another thing to be done there is to provide our biometrics, which means to have our fingerprints scanned and to have our photograph taken by the staff there. Once this is done, we've officially completed the whole visa application process, and the only thing left to be done is just to go back home, wait for the result. Okay, if the visa is approved, the result will be sent to the visa application center, and the staff there will contact us. You can choose to go back to the visa application center to collect the results, or you may be able to choose to have the result posted to you, to your home address, depending on what service available at the certain visa application center. Okay, so once we open the envelope from Home Office, it says, oh, your visa application is approved, hooray. And then we look at our passport, we check the new visa information, and we found out, oh, why my visa is only 1 month in a passport? Because this is the new rules started from last year. Home Office decided to only give 1 month temporary visa sticker in the passport. So you will need to travel to the UK within this month and collect your long-term biometric resident permit card, your visa card in the UK. Once you got your visa card, that means you're fine. Everything is done. You have your long-term visa card, and you're going to register with the university. Now you can formally start your life as a Tier 4 student in the UK. So that's the entire process for applications to be made from outside of the UK. But our presentation hasn't quite finished yet, because some students are already here in the UK studying under a Tier 4 general student's visa. For this case, if the student decides to continue their studies at another course in the UK, we need to look into the possibilities of extending their Tier 4 general student visa within the UK. So Home Office has rules about who can extend their Tier 4 student visa in the UK. Basically, the rule is called academic progression. Simply means that if you're going to continue studying in the UK, you must study a course which is higher than the previous one. So, for example, I studied an undergraduate degree here in the UK. If I want to extend my Tier 4 student visa, I need to study a master course, so a master's degree course, so which is higher than the undergraduate degree. However, sometimes, even if you are going to study a higher level course, you may still not meet the academic progression rule, because there are 4 aspects we need to pay a lot of attention to. UKVI says if you are currently not a university student or an embedded college student, you are not allowed to extend your visa here in the UK. So what do you mean by this? In the UK, there are lots of different types of educational institutions. We have the big universities. We also have a lot of private colleges and private schools, even private universities. So these private organizations, educational institutions, may not qualify for extending visa in the UK. So as a student, we need to check our own institution, ask them, I'm going to study another course. Am I allowed to extend the visa here in the UK? If you study in a normal university, a big university, you'll be okay. And also, if you study at a college which is a part of the university, it's called an embedded college, you may be also okay. So we need to check with our own college or universities to find out. But if you study at a private college or private school, the chance for you to extend your visa in the UK is very, very, very small. But do ask your current sponsor, your current universities or colleges, to make sure that you can extend your visa here in the UK. So this is about where you study now. And then another thing that Home Office says, you cannot make your application in the UK because you have failed your current course. So if you if you were given a visa to come to the UK to study a bachelor's degree course, but you failed to achieve the degree, means that you're not qualified to extend your visa here. And okay, another case is if you already study a main course. Main course usually means an academic course, like a degree level course, for example. So if you're already doing a main course, but you're going to do a pre-sessional English course, why am I going to do a pre-sessional English course if I already finish a main course? Sometimes, for example, if a student is studying an undergraduate degree, he is going to study a master's at a different university. So the university may ask the students to do a pre-sessional English course because they think the student's English level needs to be brought higher to be able to finish their course. For example, some subjects are very language-based, like media studies. They do require a very high level of English. Even if you already done the English course or main course in the UK, the university may still require a higher level of English. In that case, you probably being offered a place at the pre-sessional English course. So if you're coming from main course to pre-sessional course, in this case, Home Office said that, okay, sorry, you cannot make your application here in the UK. And the last exception here is if you're going to repeat the same level again. For example, students already studied a degree course, they want to do a second degree, just to enrich their academic experience. For a lot of students who done a master's degree, they want to study a different master at the same level, of course, and because this doesn't meet the academic progression rule, the course you're going to study is not higher. So the UKVS says, oh, in this case, you cannot extend your visa in the UK. However, when you're repeating the same level, which is above degree level, okay, it has to be undergraduate degree or master's degree, and the university you're going to study confirms on the CAS to say your previous degree level course and the course you're going to study are related, or these two courses combined can support your career ambition. If they say this on the CAS, Home Office says, okay, no problem, we are happy for you to make your application in the UK. So for students who are repeating the same degree level course in the UK, who wants to do 2 undergraduate degrees or who wants to do 2 master's degrees, they in most cases, they are not allowed to extend the visa in the UK. However, only when CAS confirms these 2 courses related or these 2 courses combined together can support your career ambition. If the CAS says that, Home Office says you're allowed to extend your visa in the UK. So what's the big deal about this? The big deal about this very complicated rule is really about where you are allowed to make your application. If you failed the academic progression, by any means, you can always go back to your home country to apply again. So it doesn't really matter. The only thing we need to be very careful is if we want to make the application here to extend our visa in the UK, we need to meet all these requirements. Okay, that's very complicated. Let's move on. Okay, now we understand some rules about extending visa in the UK. And another rule, this is much simpler. This is very, very strict, is when is our visa expired. So Home Office says between our visa expiry date and the new course start date, it cannot be a gap for more than 28 days. Basically, it means the new course has to start within the 28 days of the visa expiry end. Then we can apply to extend our visa here. Let me give you an example to illustrate this. So here, it says the visa expires on the 31st of August. The new course starts on the 26th of September. And this is 28 days. This is just within the 28 days, including the 28th day. So, which means, okay, it meets the rule. Okay, so it meets the 28 days rule, means that you can apply for your extending your Tier 4 visa in the UK. However, if still with the same visa expiry date on the 31st of August, if the new course begins in October, so it's well beyond 28 days, in this case, we cannot extend our visa in the UK. We must go back to our home country to apply from outside of the UK. So this is the rule. But so basically, if we want to extend our current Tier 4 student visa in the UK, we must meet two rules. First of all, we have to meet academic progression rule. Okay. Second of all, our visa expire date and the course start date has to be within the 28 days. So the gap cannot be bigger than 28 days. So if we meet these two requirements, then we can apply to extend our Tier 4 visa here in the UK. If we fail, no big deal. We can always go back to make a Tier 4 application from outside of the UK. Okay, so if we're going to extend our application here in the UK, we need to go to different web pages. It is still under the Home Office website, but the web pages are different from the one we looked at for applications to be made from outside of the UK. So this is the page. Okay, it tells you how much we should pay for our application fees. There are three different kinds of services. Standard service is 457, which means everything is done by post. You send your documents to Home Office by post, and the Home Office send their decision back by post. It takes about 8 weeks. Another way to speed up the process is to pay a bit more, £916, and you can have the priority service, which essentially is also decision by post, but Home Office will deal with it a lot quicker, and they will send you the decision within the 10 working days by post. And another way to handle our application is premium service. This means that you take all you book appointments online and take all your documents to one of the public offices of Home Office in the UK. So you go to see the visa officer face to face and hand in your application documents in person. And this is £1,047. And as we mentioned before, that we also need to pay the health care surcharge fees online during our application process. Okay, so this is pretty much everything that we need to talk about today. And okay, so we've talked about how to make application from outside of the UK. We talked about how to make an application within the UK and who are allowed to make an extension application within the UK. Let's just review or recap what's the most important thing for Tier 4 General Student Visa application. The most important thing is always bank statement. It's always to prepare the money as early as possible and put the money into the bank account. If you're going to open a new bank account with a new bank you're not familiar with, I would advise check with the bank staff to have a look, a sample bank statement to make sure the statement has all the features required by Home Office. Because banks don't work for UK immigration, don't work for Home Office, they are not obliged to provide a document that meets all the visa purposes. So sometimes it's very important to check this document before you put money in the bank account. Okay, and the second point is to make things a lot easier for us. put money under the applicant's name, under the student's name. And also we need to put the money in as early as possible, ideally 2 or 3 months, 3 months before the application date. And ensure that we understand how much money we need, how much money is required for the visa purposes, the tuition fees, the maintenance fund. And of course, it is always good to put more money than we needed in the bank account, but it cannot be less. Okay, sometimes people ask me, should I put in money in British pound, or can I deposit money in other currency? And either way is okay. Home Office, if you put the money in different currency, Home Office will use a website to work out the equivalent amount for pound sterling. So you can put money either in pound sterling or in other currencies. It's not a big problem. Okay, so money is always most important. Having the right documents to show the money is always important. And other things that we need to be paying a little bit more attention to is if we study a science subject, engineering subject, look closely on the conditional offer or check with the university to see if we need to have ATAS approved. Okay, so yeah, these are all the things I would like to talk about this morning, and hopefully, and these practical points, my experience will be beneficial for your visa application. And thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for participating, and hopefully the information you take away will be able to help with your application. By all means, and our Singlong group, Singlong Visa Service, will try to help you as much as possible. And this is our contact information here. You can contact us through our email address, through our telephone numbers. Thank you very much.